Welcome back to American Warrior Radio right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL. And folks, we are online worldwide at 1300WMEL.com. So tell everybody you know to listen in every Saturday from 11 to noon Eastern Time to American Warrior Radio, because we're always bringing you really cool stuff, great interviews. And today, which is really the focus, the meat and potatoes of this program, we're going to give them some great information that they can use, apply to themselves, or maybe their neighbor that lives down the street, somebody that they go to church with that they know is a vet. And it seems like anytime you're out in the... First of all, how many people in this country have even served in the military, Glenn?
Well, supposedly we're the top 1% of the population.
There you go. Only 1% of us. And yet, of those 1%, if everybody that was eligible to file a claim and receive some sort of benefit from the VA did so, the VA would have to triple their budget. Those numbers have been in place for decades now.
Yeah, there are problems of wait times and all that, and how long it takes to get a claim adjudicated would triple. So I just can't imagine.
But the idea is it's underutilized. Everything from VA home loan guarantees to the education programs, and the one we're going to talk about right now, which is
the 5 different ways that the types of ways that you can file for a claim for service-connected disability.
What is service-connected disability compensation? What is it? What's it mean?
Well, that's if you're rated 10% or greater by the VA for a service-connected disability or disabilities, compensation is the money they pay for service-connected disabilities. Like, I want to add here, you could be 0% service-connected and not get any money, but you're still entitled to free health care for that disability.
And it opens the doors to other programs.
Yeah. And lastly, as a starting point, the VA only rates in tens, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40.
But I added them up, and it comes to 65, Glenn.
Yeah. Well,
how many times have you heard that?
A bunch, and
or I'm 190%.
Yeah, I'm 12%. Or
it's based on remaining function. It's all there in Title 38.
Your private doctor may tell you you're 12% disabled because workers' comp runs things on the exact percentages, if they can even determine an exact percentage for a disability. But VA rates in tens. And they round it. So.
Round up or down.
Yeah.
If you're at a 4, you round down. If you're at a 5, they round up.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's important, because the higher you go, like, for instance, somebody that's 10% service-connected disabled, they're getting, $100 and some a month, tax-free for the rest of their life, so long as that condition still affects them. But they have a worsening, and maybe they have a surgery, and now they're at 30%. Is there any advantage to that rise from 10% to 30 other than the money?
Oh, absolutely, because at 30%, if you have a family, then for each eligible family member, and that's spouse and kids below 18,
and there's special
or
circumstances
kids who are full-time students in an approved education institution, that's up to 23.
And they pay additional allowance, a dependency allowance at 30%.
That's right. And we won't go into the exacts, but you get additional money in your check.
Right. And then if somebody, say, was at 50%?
Yeah.
I mean, that means that your health care is provided for, regardless of what it might be.
Yeah, no copays at 50%.
Exactly. So there's important, as the gradation go up, then you have additional benefits. But starting back down at the bottom, we're talking about service-connected disability compensation. What are the ways that somebody could apply for and receive that?
Okay, yeah, it'd be good, I think, to talk about this. We haven't talked about it in a long time. We'll talk about the 5 ways with a little extra information about how that works. And the first one is direct. And direct is normally for those claims that are filed within a year of getting out of the military, and it's awarded, if it's going to be approved and awarded, it's awarded for disabilities that were incurred or incurred on active duty with the they're chronic. They continued from whenever they first showed their ugly head until today, and you file a claim within a year of active duty. Now, it can apply to claims filed beyond that year of active duty, but it gets to be tougher when you do that, because then you're going to need a legal term worth of evidence, and that's called nexus. In other words, your doctor, if you've been out of the military 50 years and your service treatment records show you had a chronic condition on active duty, but you never filed a claim for it before, and you just now want to file, the first place I'm going to send you to is your doctor with the typed up piece of information that says you need a nexus statement, a connection statement that says it's as likely as not, 50-50 or greater, that the condition you have today was related back to that condition you had on active duty. And even more, what makes that kind of claim even more powerful is for you to also get a copy of your service treatment records, so that can be submitted with it. The VA supposed to go get your service treatment records, but you know what? If they do that, then the best the doctor can say is, I think, or something like that, that what you have today is related back to what you had on active duty. And
versus the doctor saying, hey, I looked at this
after review,
after review of this person's service medical record, and knowing what their status is today, it is at least as likely as not that one is related to the other. That's the nexus statement you're talking about.
Yeah, and it can be even more powerful. You know, they can say it's definitely connected back
Or,
to
yeah,
that.
it is related.
The minimum is 50-50, like Garen said. So.
Right, and what it does is it ties it together. As Glenn used in his example, even some 50 years span of time, so long as there wasn't some intervening cause. Quick example, if you were an airplane mechanic in Korea, and you've been an airplane mechanic your entire life, and you're trying to claim hearing loss, probably not a very good chance that's going to go through, because you've got all this. If you, on the other hand, if you were an airplane mechanic in Korea and you got out and you had some hearing loss, and you worked at a desk for the rest of your career, and now you want to file a claim for hearing loss, then you have a chance, so long as you have that nexus statement and you show the terms are chronicity of symptomatology. In other words,
mouthful.
It continues to bother you throughout time, whether you made complaints with an audiologist, hey, my hearing's getting worse, or maybe even a family member.
Right.
You know, they're trying to talk to you and you go, huh? You know, we all do that, especially if we have wives. Anyway, the idea is for direct service connection, something had to happen to you while you were on active duty.
Correct.
And it has to be bothering you at the time of claim.
Yes, that's a key point there, that it happened on active duty, was shown to be a chronic condition, and you still have it today. You got to have medical proof that you still have it today, and then, yes, that nexus statement.
But Glenn, this direct service connection thing, and we've got some time, folks, this is important, so please listen, take notes. Now I'm being a teacher here. Listen, I just want you all to understand, if I'm on a motorcycle, and let's say I'm assigned to Patrick Air Force Base, and I've got all my protective equipment on, and I'm riding around the neighborhood going from, say, the base to home, and a car hits me. Is that a potential service-connected disability if my injuries are chronic?
Most definitely. The only drawback to something like that kind of fact pattern would be if you were drunk, then they're going to do a line of duty investigation because of the accident. And they're either going to say, okay, it was in line of duty or it was not. And if you were drunk, even though it was the other driver's fault, it's going to be not in the line of duty.
Right. Or if you got off base where you have to wear your helmet and all your PFE, personal protective stuff, PPE, and you take it off. You take your helmet off and you go and you get in a crash. LOD, a line of duty determination, is probably going to say willful misconduct.
Yeah,
or a contributing factor anyway.
Contributing factor. Bottom line, they're going to say not in line of duty, and then that's a dead issue for claim.
Okay, so direct service connection, something happened to me, and it's still bothering me today, and I've got this link between those. That's direct service connection. What's another one? How can I get service-connected disability compensation?
Once you get a service-connected disability, if that service-connected disability, let's say you have a knee problem, it's service-connected, and because of that, it makes you walk funny, which ends up hurting your back. And you get some medical evidence that says this back problem is caused by the service-connected knee problem, then that can be approved on a secondary basis. It's caused by your service-connected disability.
Which again is going to revert back to that all-important nexus statement where a professional medical caregiver, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an MD, it can be a number of different professional licensed caregivers can make a statement saying that this woman had a knee problem that happened in service, now her back is bothering her, and I, as a medical professional, think that it's at least as likely as not one's related to the other.
Correct. And usually this is the easier one to get a doctor to make a definitive statement, because if they're going to say your current condition is caused by the service-connected disability, they're probably not going to say at least it's likely as not. They're probably going to say it is, because it meets medical treatise. So.
Yeah, and that's important. The VA, one thing y'all need to understand, and Glenn and I have vast amounts of experience dealing directly with the VA. A lot of our rating board members in the VA regional offices, these are the guys and gals that are actually issuing the decisions. Many of them are not vets. Many of them, and I'm talking current day, it actually goes back decades, but many of them aren't vets. Many of them have really no experience in dealing with vets. Many of them are straight out of college and hired by the VA and coached up on how to do rating decisions.
Exactly.
So you're not necessarily dealing with somebody that has experienced this whole range of circumstances that can contribute to service-connected disability. So we need to make it, and this, I can't stress this enough, all the clients I've had in the past, you need to help us build the case to provide the best information to the VA, so when they get it, when they get the packet, whether you want to call it an FDC, a fully developed claim, whatever you term it, if you provide all the nuts and bolts and all they have to do is look at it and assemble it and rate it, that's the way you want to go.
Yeah. Here's a good rule of thumb. Assume that the person who gets your claim has never been in the military.
Oh, that's
so
good.
Now, what are you going to have to explain to them that's germane to your claim so they can fully understand what you're claiming?
Exactly. That's how important it is to see a credentialed service officer, somebody that has experience in dealing with the VA. And God bless all of our post and, the post service officers, whether they're American Legion, VFW, whatever, God bless them. They're out there doing the frontline work and doing good jobs. But at the same time, you get into some gray areas, you really have to see a credentialed service officer.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about that all the time.
Yes, we do.
You can get a hold of me at glenn.avetproject.org.
Glenn at, that's 2 N's.
2 N's,
You
yes,
said
thank
Glenn
you.
dot. They're going to go Glenn dot. No, Glenn with 2 N's, Glenn.
Yeah, sorry, at.
at avetproject.org. AVET, again, acronym, American Veterans Empowerment Team. So it's Glenn with 2 N's at avetproject.org. And then what happens?
Well, that's my email address, and then I'll get back to you, and we'll set up a mutually agreeable time for an appointment at American Legion Post 200, where my office is in Satellite Beach, and we'll go from there. I'll probably send you back initially an email saying, okay, you got any idea what you want to claim or what you need help with, and then I'll send you back a list of things I want you to bring with you if you have it, and that way we hope to have a fully effective meeting and not have to have 2 or 3 meetings. The first one I tell you all the stuff you still need. The second one you bring half of it. The third one we finally get the claim done, because you don't want to do that, and I don't want to do that, because I'm pretty busy as a volunteer.
Exactly, yeah. We pay you well, huh?
My pay is phenomenal. 0.
Yeah. AVET Project is all volunteers, folks. Nobody gets a paycheck. So please support us. Go to avetproject.org. Click on the donate button. I don't care if it's $5, $50, or $500. If you can help us help them, please do so. It's easy. Click on the donate button. All right, so we dealt with direct.
We dealt with secondary. And
What's another one?
Well, let's talk about aggravation. Why don't you take the lead
Well,
on
I get
this
aggravated all the time.
Yeah.
That's why you're asking me to talk about
That's
it.
right.
All right, so I go into the recruiter's office and I want to be a loadmaster. And I take my ASVAB and they let me in the door, but I get to the receiving center and they're doing a physical exam and they notice that I got a knee issue. I was playing football and I got a little bit of a trick knee.
Okay.
But it falls within the range that is acceptable for entry into the Air Force, so I can go on and be a loadmaster. So they make a little tick mark on my physical, all right, saying that, yeah, he had a knee issue, but it's not so bad. And I go in and I'm serving my first tour. Let's say I'm in my third year, and I notice it's getting worse. And I'm making some complaints to the doctors because when I jumped down off the ramp of that C-130, it kind of clicked or moved on me, and it injured a little more, and it's getting worse. So I made some complaints. It's in my medical record. That means they knew I had it when I came in, and I made a few complaints while I'm in, and then I get out after my 4 years, and I notice, man, I may even need a knee brace because I've got some laxity in my knee and what have you. Given that fact pattern as you're given to say, what happens now?
Well, that's certainly a fact pattern that will lead to approval under the aggravation rule for service connection for that disability. Also, let me say, modify the fact pattern a little bit. Same thing happens as you go along in your military service. Your knee, which you knew got hurt when you were age 14, but bothers you more and more and more. And when during medical treatment they say something like, did you ever hurt your knee before? And you say, yeah, about age 14, and they write that in your medical records.
Sure do.
And so then you file a claim for aggravation because your duties on active duty made that disability, that problem get worse.
Having to jump down off the ramp of a C-130.
Exactly. And so the VA may and sometimes likely will come back and say, no, this is not service connected because it started before you got into the military. Well, guess what? On the aggravation rule, there's a presumption of soundness, and if they let you in the military, they presume you're good and fit to go.
Good to go.
Regardless of whether they document a little problem or not. If they let you on active duty, there's a presumption of soundness, and then in this instance, the shoe is on the VA's foot to prove that it was not aggravated by your military service. I mean, you still got to file the claim under the aggravation rule, but they can't just out of hand say, no, we're denying it because it happened at age 14. Well, pooh. Let me tell you, the first step in my appeal to them is going to be you're not properly applying the presumption of soundness rule, the law.
Right, which says, like Glenn said, that you're going to be entitled to compensation because of a worsening of your condition while you're on active duty. Yeah, you can concede as the veteran that, yeah, I did hurt my knee before I went into service, but you guys let me in.
Yeah.
You cleared me, good to go, and now it's gotten worse and I want to be paid for it. And it only makes sense. Before we get to the next two, because there are 5 we're discussing here, I want you all to understand something. You'll meet vets all day long, and Glenn and I do, and Kim and everybody with AVET Project. I don't want to file a claim because somebody out there needs it more than I do.
Yeah, go ahead and continue with that. Excellent point.
Yeah, look, folks, think of it this way. If that same individual was out there working for a radio station and they got injured on the job, all right, as long as it, again, wasn't willful misconduct, they're going to receive workers' compensation. All right, they're going to receive workers' comp for that. Think of this and explain VA disability compensation in that way because it kind of breaks it down. You were working, so long as it wasn't willful misconduct, and you got injured, and you continue to have problems based on that injury. That's kind of how it's an implied workers' comp agreement, but, termed differently.
Excellent analogy, and believe me, don't worry that the VA is going to run that your claim gets approved. That's going to take a benefit away from another veteran because they don't have enough money. They never will run out of money for service-connected disabilities.
And like I said, if everybody applied that was eligible, you'd have to increase their budget 3 times, and they know this. They
Yeah.
know this. They know that they're getting by light. So you just tell anybody that's along those lines that, hey, don't worry about it. Go file the claim with a credentialed service
Yeah,
officer.
you earned it protecting our nation.
Thank you very much. Nobody more deserving. Okay, direct, secondary, aggravation. Give me another one. This is an important one.
Presumptive.
Ah, that's a big word too. You're getting all legalistic on me. What's that?
Well, presumptive is probably the most well-known one of these is people who were on active duty and exposed to Agent Orange, or herbicides is really the correct term, mostly occurred in Vietnam. If you can prove you set foot even part of one day in the Republic of Vietnam, then you're presumed to have been exposed to Agent Orange. It was so heavily used over there. And then there's a list of 20 or so, somewhere around
A
there.
strong 15 anyway.
Okay.
And those conditions, the VA has determined over time, and we're talking decades, that veterans that were exposed to herbicides come down with these disorders far more prevalently than the general population, so they had to concede, gee, this is obviously a link.
Yeah, exactly. And trying to keep it pretty simple for this program, then let's say you have a heart condition that's not a valvular heart condition.
Or hypertension.
Yeah, or hypertension. Then all you've got to do is go to your cardiologist or even your regular doctor, get them to state that you have that. That's all you need in this case. You don't need a nexus statement,
Nope.
because the other thing you're going to need to prove without
That
too much effort is that you had set foot in the Republic of Vietnam, and that's usually contained in your service personnel records anyway.
Right. Yeah, if you have a RVN medal, you were there.
Yeah.
So that's easy enough. If you have, that's ischemic heart disease, anything other outside of valvular or hypertension, and your doctor, general doctor or really, DO, whoever, says, yeah, you've got, some sort of cardiac problem,
Right.
then, and you got Vietnam, you got exposure, boom, it's done.
Yeah.
It's a matter of the VA determining how severe that
How
disability
severe
is.
is it determines the percent. So,
And that's presumptive. And there are new presumptives for our current, I should say, more contemporary veteran population. And just know that they're there, and you can go to avetproject.org and even American Warrior Radio's Facebook page. Please like these sites, whatever that means. You go and you like it. That means, hey, I like this. And then you share it with others. That's how we spread the word.
yeah.
All right, so
Also, if you were at the DMZ at certain times and or in Thailand at certain times, you may also qualify for presumptive for exposure to herbicides.
big difference between shall and may.
Yeah, big word, may.
Okay, so we covered direct, we covered secondary, we covered aggravation and presumption. What's the last one? We'll just
The last
touch
one
over
is
this.
it's called an 1151 because that's the part of the United States Code that applies to it. And that's basically you're claiming that the VA caused you another disability by their medical treatment. Almost impossible to get nowadays, the way the law was changed.
Right, and it also includes those that are in voc rehab if they're injured or they're chronically impacted by something. But
Good point.
so those are the ways. And again, all this information is on avetproject.org, our various social media platforms. And we want you to check it out, and you go to the Facebook pages and you like them. American Warrior Radio is there too. And Glenn, we have to talk about this. Let's, as we always do at the end of every episode, what do you got to share with them?
Well, if you're a veteran or a family member of a veteran, a friend of a veteran, and the veteran is in crisis, maybe contemplating suicide and has indicated that that's what they're going to do, you need to call the VA crisis line 1-800-273-8255, and for veterans you press 1.
Number again.
1-800-273-8255, and as always, don't forget, thank a vet. I can read.